Hi, folks. We're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a phenomenon that I've sort of noticed it, but didn't really give it too much thought. That is these horribly unsuccessful programs, some of the Star Trek spin-offs and others, Lord of the Rings type stuff. Wherever there's been a concerted and very heavy-handed, clumsy effort to destroy a popular franchise that white people like looking at, which seems to be very much a pastime of the globe. What are white people looking at? Good, let's destroy it. So given that the viewership is so low, how is it that these very unsuccessful series can run for 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, 6 seasons, and I could never work that out, because the economics of entertainment are that you make a program, TV series, streaming service, movie, whatever it is, and the idea is to entertain. Then you draw an audience to it, and the audience watches it, which then means you can sell advertising and you can sell, a cable subscription and all sorts of stuff like that. And that's how you make the bucks. But if nobody's watching it, then no one will pay for the advertising, or the advertising rate they pay is very low. And if no one's subscribing to it, then you don't get the revenue from subscription services. So it's a massive loss of money. Now, the way it used to work is that either the show made money. This is in the days, the pre-woke insanity days. Either the show made money or didn't. Now, sometimes they would persevere. The show maybe wasn't quite delivering, but it was it had promise that there were still possibilities there. So maybe the network might stay with it for, say, a second season. But if it wasn't pulling its weight by then it was just put on the shelf. Now, maybe they change it to a slot later, a late night slot, and which meant that everybody was making less. The actors weren't paid as much. The writers weren't paid as much. If it wasn't generating the money, there just weren't the rewards there. So, and that's assuming the show even hung on by its fingernails and it wasn't axed totally. Now, what we know that the globalists see the whole entertainment industry as a propaganda delivery system. Not that there weren't narratives being inserted. For example, after the end of World War II, there were narratives being inserted in movies and TV programs about how bad murder was. Murder was a terrible thing. Oh, can't do that. And this is after 5 years of Americans or people across the world being told, no, it's okay to go and murder those folks over there. No, you can shoot them. That's fine. That's okay. That's what you're meant to do. We're paying you to go and murder people. That's a crass way of expressing it, but that. So when they came back, there was this concern that there were all these people, former demobilized soldiers, former soldiers, who not only were experienced in use of weapons, but had become inured to this idea that killing people was wrong. So they wanted to restore a moral standard, if you like, and they used movies and TV shows and so on to do this, or deliver propaganda through that. Now, was it propaganda to deceive? Was it propaganda to disenfranchise? Propaganda to cheat? Propaganda to lie to it? No, it wasn't those things. It was that the cause was decent or reasonable enough. You don't want these guys running around killing people, thinking that what they were used to for 5 years of shooting up, committing murder, that they shouldn't hold that view when they are in amongst their back at home and amongst their own citizens, this sort of stuff. So the propaganda had an actual practical, real purpose. It wasn't a propaganda runner and say, hey, guess what, you guys, you're on Nazis and we want to, that sort of stuff. So it's a very different sort of application of that. But with the propaganda in the woke era, then the propaganda is to attack white people, particularly white males and Christians, and to demonize them viciously and forcefully, and to elevate non-meritoriously all other groups to being morally and spiritually and in every way superior. Men, straight white males are depicted as dumb, stupid morons, and black lesbians are genius rocket scientists, and so on. So it's a total sort of fantasy, delusional projection of the world. But nonetheless, no one's really watching this propaganda. Sometimes they get away with it because they'll go to a successful franchise like Star Wars, and so there's still a hangover of the loyalty to the franchise. So they're still able to get away with injecting propaganda for a couple of movies, and then it nosedives afterwards, and then nobody's watching or the movie. Now, in spite of these movies losing vast sums of money, as in hundreds upon hundreds of millions, and many of them losing it, so that the losses are into the billions, that doesn't seem to stop them from treating every successful white entertainment franchise as a propaganda delivery system. Now, I've always wondered why. Well, if you want to have something that demonizes white people and elevates black lesbians, why don't you just create your own special channel? This is the demonization of whitey channel, and if you want to have a look at whiteys being demonized and black lesbians being shown as genius rocket scientists, then you can go and watch this channel. But they don't do that. Because they want to infiltrate white franchises and destroy them and propaganda deliver. In fact, I think destruction of the franchise. White people are looking at this, and white people enjoy this. White people want to look at that. Let's destroy it. I think it's more that than the other side. And propaganda delivery is simply a device of destruction rather than something that's necessarily going to change people's minds or justify the insanity of wokeism. Nonetheless, why do these loss-making productions go on for so long? And what I hadn't realised, and something that only came across recently, was that whereas in most new TV series or different takes on a particular franchise, they'll give it a short season, maybe between 4 and 6 pilot episodes to see how it goes. And if it looks like it's got promise or it's popular or going places, then they'll commit to, say, another season, and then maybe 2 more seasons after that, and so on. So it's done a step at a time. That's all gone now, with the very clear, aggressive propaganda delivery system type productions, and there's plenty of those around today. They're actually committing to 4, 5, 6 seasons up front. So billions of dollars up front end loaded to the franchise. It's all paid for in advance. So even if it doesn't make a nickel in advertising revenue, it's all being paid for. It's costing nobody or people that shovel. So these NGOs and all sorts of organizations that are getting tax breaks and double tax write-offs, all this sort of thing, they're paying up front for it. So the series can run on for years, even though it's a completely unsuccessful series and it's not attracting the viewership. They can still commit. So that's how far they're planning ahead in the future in their propaganda delivery. They're actually paying up front for a 5-year commitment for 5 seasons of this propaganda insanity. And that's why we're seeing very unsuccessful, unpopular franchises and productions and streaming services. That's why we're seeing so many come out. So now on top of that, they're also doing commitment to multiple movies. So say in the case of destroying the Star Wars franchise was very much a key. The globalists really want to destroy the Star Wars franchise and transform it into an anti-white male propaganda delivery system. And so were committing to multiple movies, not just one movie, but to multiple movies. And they were quite prepared to sustain astronomical financial losses just to A, destroy the franchise, and B, destroy and have the propaganda delivery system. So that took me by surprise. I had no idea they were committing to multiple movies and multiple series and seasons and multiple productions over multiple years. I didn't know that was happening, and they're paying for that all up front. Effectively, they're saying, we suspect this isn't going to be popular. It's good propaganda delivery. It's good anti-straight white male propaganda. It's not going to make you money, but it's good propaganda for us, for the globalists. So we'll pay you up front. We'll cover you for the loss. Now, this is the same as we see in the media landscape. If you look at the MSNBCs and the CNNs and so on, they're all losing money. None of them are economically viable, but they're being artificially propped up by effectively taxpayer handouts. and tax breaks and giveaways and subsidies, because those news outlets could never survive on their own. And this is the same with the propaganda. It's all being paid for, and monumental losses. Now, ultimately, the taxpayer is paying for all this. So it's not a matter for really anyone's celebration, but it illustrates, I think, the fanatical commitment that the globalists have to producing anti-straight white male, anti-Christian propaganda. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.